Hey everyone, it's Suza from Linea, and I'm here to talk to you about how to LP on Etherex. I just want to say upfront, this is not financial advice. This is educational content, so you can learn from my mistakes about how to LP on Etherex. So let's get into it. So first, come up here to the Liquidity tab, and you can see all the pairs that are being swapped on Etherex. If you filter by 24-hour volume, you can see which are the most popular pairs, all the way to which is not really getting a lot of love right now. Now, if you're looking to LP, you want to look at a couple ways to stack your rewards. First, check out the APR. The APR essentially tells you if you were to leave your tokens in this pair for an entire year, this is your expected return on investment for the year. Secondly, you can check out the Epoch rewards. Epoch rewards are incentives in the form of Rex tokens or sometimes other tokens for participating in this liquidity pair. Okay, so now let's say that I've chosen a pair and I'm like, all right, I really want something with high Epoch rewards, good 24-hour volume, and a strong APR. Whoa, look at this, 486.6%. Now, this is a very tempting percentage, but I will warn you that the higher the APR, the more risky a lot of times the pairs are. So let's say I want to do this pool. So I can go ahead and deposit some liquidity. I already have my wallet connected. And when I go to this page, I will see different ranges. Ranges are your willingness to provide liquidity for Etherex to use as long as the price of the token stays within a specific range. Okay, that's a lot. So let's take a look at, for example, Linea. Whoa, here is the Linea price in ETH. As you can see, it was pretty stable, but now it's gotten a little more volatile. So if I put on this degen, you can see, oh, so little. In order for my liquidity to be active, the price is only allowed to stay plus or minus like 1%, which is tiny. So that's a really tough one because as soon as the token price falls out of the range that you have set, your liquidity is no longer going to be active and used, and you're not going to earn any yield on it. So you could pick narrow is 2.5%. So the token price can go up or down 2.5%. And then wide range is a little bit wider. So just zoom in and out to see, how much volatility you can take by leaving your token in. So the reason why, if it's one tick, just 1%, the APR is insane. It's because your liquidity is being used very efficiently. Your liquidity is only going to be swapped when the price is in this tiny range, which means that you're going to get more swap fees during that small range of prices, which means the APR is going to be higher. But just because it has a higher APR doesn't mean you're necessarily going to make more yield, because the price will fall out of range so frequently that you'll have to like decrease it and then put it back in and then decrease it, put it back in, take it out, put it back in, and it goes back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and select this wide option because I have a job. I'm busy. I don't want to check this every 5 minutes to make sure I'm still in range. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Magic Max tool. What Magic Max does is it looks at your wallet and says, okay, as a liquidity provider, you need to provide both Linea tokens and ETH. But what if I only have ETH in my wallet? Or what if I only have Linea in my wallet? Well, just use this Magic Max tool, turn it on, and what it will do is it will basically take your tokens and even them out. So it'll say, okay, you have this many Linea tokens, but you don't have any ETH. So what we're going to do is take half of those, sell them, and buy ETH. So that's what it does for you. So here I already have a pretty good mix of Linea and ETH. So let's just go ahead and deposit into this pool. So again, I'm doing the wide range. I'm using the Magic Max to make sure I'm using the maximum amount of tokens I currently have in my wallet to be put into this pool. So it's just under, it's like $421. Great. So let's go ahead and deposit. I'm going to confirm this swap. So again, it's swapping Linea for ETH or ETH for Linea to ensure that I'm providing both tokens into the pool. Go ahead and hit confirm on your MetaMask wallet. In the background, it's swapping them for you. Great, we've swapped. Now it's going to add liquidity. So you're going to have to sign your wallet another time just to confirm. And now, looky here, we have just opened a liquidity position on Etherex. Yay, us. Now let's take a look at this other pool that I contributed to just like 5 days ago. As you can see, we are out of range. I'm kind of like shocked to say this, but my stake was around like over $3,000. It was like $3,200. So I have lost a significant amount of money. This rewards, I'm sorry, is not accurate. I made about $36 in US dollars. And that comes in the form of Rex tokens. I had already withdrawn them. And I have lost a ton of money, way more than the 36 buckaroos here of my stake. So what happened? Why did I lose so much money? And why am I out of range? Well, because the reason I lost so much money is because the Linea price has gone down significantly. When I put my $3,200 in there, the Linea price was about 2.6 cents. It is now 1.9 cents, which has gone down, let's say in the last 7 days, 23%. And not only that, when you are providing liquidity to a pool, remember, you're providing Linea and MUSD in this case. But if everyone is like, oh no, the token price is going down, I need to sell, there's a lot of sell pressure, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a lot of the token that's being sold and none of the token that's being purchased. So when I cash out, even though I had Linea and MUSD and I deposited both, I'm only getting out Linea because everyone's selling Linea right now. And that's what's hot in the pool, is selling. Okay, so let's talk about what happens if I'm out of range. When I'm out of range, this is something called impermanent loss. When I first heard impermanent loss, I thought, oh my God, this is like Eigenlayer. They're going to slash my tokens and they're going to take them all away. And I'm going to lose all this money if I go out of range. That is not what happens. Do not be afraid of impermanent loss. The reason you shouldn't be afraid of impermanent loss is because it's impermanent. All of this means is that the token price that I had set, I had done a 2.5% range. So the price of the Linea token and the MUSD could either increase or decrease by 2.5%. As we have seen, the price has gone down 23%, which means I am definitely out of range and my liquidity is no longer being used by Etherex. But now it's called impermanent loss because my stake is just sitting there. I'm losing out on the opportunity to make yields on the liquidity I'm providing. Now, when a token is out of range, so nothing bad happens, it just sits there. However, you can actually see how much tokens go out of range. So let's take the pool that, let's take this Linea ETH pool. So if you hover over the TVL, right now it shows you that 56.8%, let's just call it half. So half of the TVL is active. That means the other half of the TVL that's been submitted, $4 million, is currently out of range. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this is a highly volatile pool. So when you're looking at where to LP, the active TVL is actually really interesting. It could be a really good thing because you're like, great, only half of the liquidity is active. That means if I put my liquidity in, it's actually a smaller pool than it says, which means my tokens have a higher likelihood of getting swapped and traded, which means I will make more fees, right? But it's also bad. It's also kind of like a red flag because it says that half of the tokens have fallen out of the range, which means it's highly volatile, which means it's a lot riskier. Okay, so I am out of range right now. What are my options? Well, the first option is pretty easy. I can just leave it in, suffer impermanent loss, and when the token price goes back up, then my liquidity will be active again and I can start earning yields. Now, the second thing I can do is I can just hit manage, and then I can use this to decrease my liquidity, whatever percentage I want, and withdraw it. When I do that, notice that I'm going to be getting only Linea tokens. And as you remember, the price of the token when I first put it in was 2.6 cents, and it's now down to 1.9 cents. So I'm now holding a bag of tokens that has a smaller value than what I put in, a significantly smaller value. And the whole point of providing liquidity is to make yield. So if I withdraw this and just stick it in my wallet, it's not really doing anything for me, right? That's the whole point of this. The other option that I can do is I can take this all out. Let's go back to this page, decrease my liquidity, and then I can go hunting for another pair to put my liquidity back into that has a lot of epoch rewards, a high APR, it's part of the ignition program, and so I can start earning yield on it again. The thing that I would caution against, and I actually made this mistake, and I was making like yield from my pools. One day I made $200. I was like, yeah, I made so much money. My wallet was like slowly decreasing in value, and I didn't understand why. And the reason is because my tokens, just like they are now, would go out of range. And usually they went under range, which means that the tokens were losing value. The token price was decreasing. And then what I was doing is I would find a pair with, like this one. And what I would do is I would take my Linea tokens and use this magic max. But when I did that, what that is essentially doing is it's taking half of my Linea tokens and it's selling them to buy Ethereum. But the token price has gone down, which means my buying power has gone down, which means I'm breaking the golden rule of buying low and selling high. And I'm actually selling my Linea tokens low, and I'm realizing that loss. And I don't want to realize that loss. So if you are going to recycle your liquidity, pull it out and put it into a new pool, obviously earn some yield. That's awesome. But I would really caution you against using this magic max. So instead, what you can do is you can just enter your Linea back in here, but then you would need to either buy some ETH or use some ETH from one of your other wallets or whatever it is to manually put the ETH in here. Sometimes it's okay to realize a loss if the epoch rewards, the Linea ignition rewards, the yield that you get for providing liquidity is greater than the loss that you're seeing by selling the tokens at a lower price. Or else, like me, your wallet will slowly tick down over time. So those are basically the main things you can do. You can leave it, you can take it out, maybe you use it to buy other tokens, maybe you just keep it in there, but you're not earning yield, or you can recycle that liquidity. Of course, you can also take that liquidity and maybe put it in a vault on a different protocol. But on Etherex, those are oh, wait a minute. We have one last option. The last option is you sell your tokens and say, I don't want to farm anymore. This is complicated. I'm not really making any money. I don't have the time to be good at this. And you can just go ahead and buy yourself, trade your tokens for some Rex tokens. Remember, when you have Rex tokens, you are able to earn yield every week. If you have Rex 3.3, it'll automatically earn you the maximum yield in the form of Rex tokens. But if you have XREX instead and you're voting, then you can actually earn rewards in tokens other than Rex. So by just taking your tokens and instead of farming, just like becoming kind of like a member of the MetaDex, you will essentially just earn yield week over week without having to farm. So that's actually your other option. Guys, I hope you found this incredibly helpful. I hope that my mistakes could make it so you could make money and don't have to realize those losses like I did. Thank you so much for listening to this tutorial, and we'll see you next time.